Sona BLW is one stock that remains in focus. It's up around 10% on the back of acquisition of Escorts Kubota's railway division. Now, to explain this acquisition and to give us more details on the same, we are joined by Vivek Vikram Singh, the MD and the Group CEO of Sona BLW. Good afternoon, sir. Thank you for joining us firstly. So, very timely acquisition that has come in for the company, given the fact that we are seeing some signs of slowdown when it comes to the global auto business.
Yeah, but you can't time these things in life. Time is providence. Sometimes God is kind and timing gets right. We've been working on this for about 12 months. We announced about a year ago that we are looking, and we changed our vision statement to say that we will be looking at mobility rather than just automotive. We'd explored a lot of opportunities, and railways was one area which we realized is a big industry with growth. Timing, like I said, sometimes lady luck shines on you, but it is a long-term play. We are here for the next 20, 30 years is how we plan. So sometimes we get lucky with timing.
All right. Hi, a very good morning, Vivek, and thank you so much for your time. On this particular deal that has been done and sealed now, can you elaborate on how this acquisition of Escorts Kubota Railway Division aligns with Sona BLW long-term diversification strategy? And are there any specific synergies you anticipate that will enhance your operational efficiency?
So I'll start with not just diversification, how we look at anything organically or inorganically new that we are going to do. We have, I'd say, 5 filters. First filter is it a product that is likely to be long-term, which means do we expect it to be around for the next 15, 20 years? In this case, we cannot imagine railways or trains without brakes, even in the wildest of our imagination, and we did consider some wild ones like hover trains, etc. You'll still need brakes. Second would be that whatever you do acquire, does it have market leadership position or the capability to acquire market leadership position? And in this case, this is a clear leader. It is the leader in brakes in India, in an industry which is large and fast growing, both rare to get that. Third, like you rightly mentioned, diversification. It should add to a healthy diversification and not further concentrate risk. Fourth, will we make good money doing it? After all, we are a business and we must have a money motive. This one should be EPS accretive from the first year itself, and hence it's a fairly good value for us. And fifth, very important, at least to the management team, that it should be good for society and the world. With railways being the cleanest form of motorized transport there is, I think it checks that box also fairly well, and it furthers our commitment to green mobility and making India and our planet better from at least transport and emissions perspective. So yeah, I would say it fits pretty perfectly with how we look at the world.
So one question on the valuation here, I might be wrong here, but the street was valuing this division of Escorts Kubota at close to 4,000 crore rupees, but you have managed to get this at around 1,600 crore rupees. Could you just explain to us how this valuation dynamics has worked out for you, and how did you manage to get this acquisition at a very attractive value?
Yeah, look, I didn't know what the market was valuing it at, because when you do a deal, regardless of whether you're listed or not, you have to look at it from your perspective of what is it that you want to pay, private or public, and at what price does it become accretive to you. One of the things that is very important for us is that it should start being accretive on an EPS basis pretty much immediately, right? 4,000 crore, if you'd bought it at, it would not have. It would have taken way too long. And in an uncertain and cyclical industry like railways, you can't be paying that much. I think we paid a fairly fair price. But if you believe we got a good deal, well, I think good for us, I guess.
That's what the investors are liking, Vivek, at this point in time. Look at the stock price of the company that is soaring high in trade today. But you mentioned that the acquisition should be EPS accretive from the first year itself. If you can provide more details on how do you expect this to materialize, if you can give us some more insights on this one in number terms.
Sure. I mean, it's all public domain numbers that I'm telling you. So if you look at their last financial year reported numbers, I think 179 crore EBIT is what the business did. Now, obviously, we're buying on a slump sale, so there is no interest component. So EBIT is equal to PBT. Assume 25% tax, you'll land up at about 135 crore of net profit, correct? If you get 135 crore of net profit by paying 1600 crore, uh, it will be EPS accretive because 1600 crore of cash cannot possibly generate 135 crore without taking undue risk. Now, if you add growth to it, of course, that goes up even further. So that's the numbers. Basically, if you look at 135 crore to 1600, I think you're buying even on a trailing basis at 12-ish PE. Uh, most things in the world, if you get a 12x PE, you do well on that investment.
One point that I wanted to understand, I'm just taking your line that you wanted to expand in the mobility business. So railway is one where the deal is done. But apart from that, what we see in a couple of the other auto companies is that they look to diversify maybe in the aerospace division or something that might look interesting to you in the times ahead. And why particularly railways for now? Or we can take it other way, that railways is done, maybe something could be there in the times ahead on the cards.
You are absolutely right. Maybe there are other things afoot, but I told you our filter criteria. So it has to fit those filter criteria. For example, you mentioned aerospace. Let me mention one that people ask us about quite often, defense, right? We will not do defense because even if it fits the first four criteria, which is, does it make good money? Can you have market leadership? Is it a product that will be there? We believe human beings, till they exist on this planet, will continue to fight and they will have weapons, right? But is it good for the world? Is it good for humanity? We don't believe. So we will not enter that space. Uh, in clean mobility, if there are spaces, there could be drones. You're right, aerospace could be one. Space itself could be a big sector. We could look at intelligent transport. We could look at uh, anything that transports human beings and goods and does so without causing undue damage to the environment around it. It's fair game for us, and we will be looking at other opportunities. As you know, we raised a substantial sum in our QIP, 2,400 crores. Plus, we already were sitting on uh, cash. So we have a fair amount of dry powder and we will continue to explore other options, but at the price that we feel is right. Not what we feel the street thinks is right, not what we feel the others think is right. What we believe is good for us, and we would have done it regardless of whether we were public or private. It's not for our share price that we are doing it. It is because we are planning for a business 20 years out. How does it look? How does it keep growing? That's the driving force here.
Also, if you could give us some idea now, you had raised around 2,400 crore via QIP. You said you already have some of the cash and some extra cash also with you before the QIP. So, post this deal has been done, how much of cash is on the books? And if you could share some timeline by when do you plan to utilize this? Because if you have extra cash, it will also impact your return ratios, right?
Yeah, I mean, the cash is not idle. We have invested it. So we do get yield from that too. But this part is a little harder to answer because, like, for example, this deal, you only paid the closing. The closing is not entirely in our control, and we will, and hopefully the government also listens to your show. Government approvals, especially railway and RDSO approvals, will play a huge part in determining when exactly can the deal get done. So deal closing has government body regulatory approval stuff, which nobody can predict in advance. So that's when that deployment will happen. Rest of it, we'll continue looking. We'll continue looking.
All right. And also, Vivek, now coming back to your core business then, and it's been a strong quarter for Sona in Q2. And coming at a time where we are seeing such global commentaries commentaries from the global OEMs and even domestic companies are highlighting that there could be some slowdown in the demand of automotives. At this price point, how do you see the demand outlook for various and different geographies for your various divisions?
Yeah, so we have been commenting on it. I think even on your channel 2 quarters ago, I said the same things. We have been seeing this for a while, right? US off highway, India commercial vehicle, Europe, all sectors. There has been a slowdown coming for a while. I think the commentary has increased now because a lot of management teams believe that I think they believe possibly that hope is a strategy, that if you don't say anything and you hope for good things will come. I think it's better to accept, or better to actually, when you see some lead indicators of trouble, start planning ahead and actually start guiding your shareholders that things are coming. If any of you ever see our earnings calls, we start with bad news every single time. Every single earnings call we've done since we were listed, we say bad news first. And there has been bad news for a while. It's not just that it suddenly happened. These sectors are slowing down. I hope it remains contained to these segments and does not spread across the board. And that's what we need to watch out for. That is this a symptom of a broader economic malaise, or is it just contained to these sectors and segments and it's a segmental issue? Guess time will tell on all of those.
So you are already present in ICE and EV, but now I believe you have also started getting orders for CNG. Could you explain to us about these orders and what is the kind of growth or more growth that you can expect from the CNG orders to come in going forward? Because CNG is something that has been picking up at least in India.
No, thank you for picking that up. Actually, EV plus hybrid is more than about 58%, 57, 58%, I believe, of our revenue already. So we are more in tune with the greener parts. CNG, I just mentioned as an off comment in the earnings call to explain that alternative powertrains also the business we usually have, all of them. But it is, I won't say that it's a huge part of our business because it's unlikely to be. If you play on a global scale, the number of vehicles that are on a CNG powertrain is minuscule. It is part of the India business, but if you look at, for us, India is only 28%, right? And only a fraction of that 28% is in passenger vehicle. And only a small fraction of that is CNG. So although it's an interesting new development, it isn't likely to be a major factor in overall scheme of things.
Talking about the alternative mobility plans, Vivek, when we see the EV contribution, that's quite significant in your total order book size. But going ahead, given the kind of commentary that we are getting in, what's the sustainable number in terms of the contribution coming in from EVs? Any insight on this?
Yeah, so two things. I mean, there has been, I know, a lot of commentary and a lot of narrative build up on EV slowdown. And in the midst of that, the EV industry has grown above 20% year-on-year basis. And we have grown 53%. Maybe the narrative is not entirely accurate, because if you look at the ICE growth in the industry, I think it's negative. So EV is winning. Maybe it's winning slower than some people anticipated, but eventually that's where it's going. Because reality is, and why is the order book 78% EV? How many people outside India, let's say, are launching new diesel and petrol vehicles? Very, very limited, right? So eventually, maybe it won't happen as early as 2032, maybe it's 2035, 2037. More than 80%, 90% being EV is going to happen. It is an inevitability. It can be delayed, but almost like justice, it will not be denied. It is going to come for everyone. So it is better to be aligned with the future rather than fight it. Most people, at least in my limited life experience, who fought the future have lost. We don't intend to make that mistake. We want to align with the future and try and win.
For joining us and for giving us those details and for explaining us about this acquisition.
There comes a time when your heart calls for you to arise. Plant your feet solid into the ground. Decide your own limits. And then break right through them. Become something more. It's my time to rise.